Welcome back to another episode. Today on the Divine Flow, we're going to talk about what is a true friend and why you need one in your life right now. So, Nachman, we had quite an experience yesterday with some close friends. I would consider some close friends of myself, where we got together and one guy came in and we were discussing, hey, how's your Rosh Hashanah? Blah, blah, blah. And I don't know why I felt like I needed to ask this guy. I didn't ask, like, how was it? But I said, did you hear the shofar this year? Mm-hmm. And the guy said, no. And then you, which there's something to learn from about this, said, you're amazing. You're going to have a great year, to the guy who didn't hear the shofar. And I was like, wait a second. You didn't hear the shofar? And I was like getting a little bit riled up a bit. Not in a way of I was angry or judgmental with the person, but almost like, oh my gosh. Like, let's just have an open conversation over here. So let's take a step back for a second. What is a real friend? I want, from your perspective, what do you think is a real friend? We'll go back to that story soon.
Yes. We need to create context. So it's interesting, in my life, I always felt I needed a friend. Now, I don't know if that's healthy or not, and we're going to explore that today. But I always, even when I was 2 years old, I had this friend. His name was Beryl. I was growing up in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. And till this day, I remember my friend Beryl. And I still remember him today. And whenever I go back to Crown Heights and I see him, we hug each other. It's so nice to see him. It was like he was my first best friend. And what I found in that relationship over the years is that he would always remind me of different interactions that we had. He reminds me of going on the school bus in the morning or going to school together. And those reminders are there to sort of anchor our relationship. Hey, we're best friends. But I also always ask myself, is there something missing in my life that I needed a best friend? And how healthy is a best friend relationship? I see, one of my siblings, or a few of my siblings, always had really good friends, and at the same time, there was a certain disconnect from the family. Almost like friends took the part of what they weren't getting in the family. So that's a thought I always have. What's a real friend? Is a real friend somebody that is going to fill a need for you? Is a real friend someone that's going to take your parents' place? And to some extent, I think yes. I think that sometimes a friend, especially different parts of our lives, are going to take on and fill certain needs. And at the same time, what is a true friend? I think a true friend, really develops after many years. You're not going to know a true friend until you're in your 20s or 30s. That's when you're going to know a true friend.
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. So you're growing up, or a person grows up, they have friends. You go to the park with your friend, you have play dates with your friend, you play sports with your friends. And, it was interesting because I was looking back at, my wife did this book for me where she decided to do a nice thing for my 36th birthday, which was 5 years ago. And she put together a list of all my friends. And she said, I want you to wish my husband a happy birthday and give me a picture of yourself. And she made this picture book with nice messages from each one of my friends. And I think it was a couple months ago, I was looking through this book. And I was like, I think there's like 5 people of that whole book that I still talk to out of like 50 people that she got to do it. And I'm like, wow. And what is it about those 5 people that lasted? that they are still in my life today. And when we look at you were saying growing up is one thing. So you have those common interests, those relationships. And then there's when you're an adult and you're having relationships with people, you can only understand what a true friend is. And I think it comes down to, and we've spoken about this a bunch, I think the air conditioning went on. That's amazing. That's a true friend, by the way. There's the Mishnah that says you should make for yourself a spiritual mentor, a selach harav, and then there's a stronger language that says you should acquire for yourself a friend. Now, acquire means, and the simple explanation is you got to pay money for a friend. So today I'm a coach, and I'm like, hey, guys, you want a good friend? Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
But acquire is not necessarily always in a money exchange. Acquire is just a stronger language that's saying there's something that's a little bit more valuable to a friendship that maybe some other relationships don't have. And you got to work for it. You got to acquire it. You got to pay for it. You got to really take ownership of that idea of a friendship. And going back to the chauffeur story, I think that's, it came up yesterday, is I told this guy, like, hey, like, you missed a huge opportunity. You didn't hear the chauffeur. He's like, I've never missed a chauffeur in my life, but this year it was just so busy, whatever. He's not a religious guy. It's fine. Like, I didn't have judgment, but I was just like, straight up, I was like, hey, you missed a tremendous opportunity. Like, what's happening in the world on Rosh Hashanah is so much is coming down, and the chauffeur just is a Rosh Hashanah. It's like the head of the year. It's how you set up your whole year, how you set up your whole year, how your whole year is going to be. And he's like feeling all guilty. I'm like, hey, I don't want to make you feel bad here, but I just want to let you know you missed a huge opportunity. And I wasn't afraid to say it because a true friend, this is what I think, is, they say your fake friends will talk nice to you in front of your face, but not nice things behind your face. And a real friend will talk not such nice things in front of your face, but good things behind your back about you to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And a true friend is going to be someone, which is why you have to acquire him, is going to be able to show you the truth about who you are, is going to hold you accountable to what they see in you, what the truth that they see in you. And not in a way of like, parenting where you look at your kids and you like want them to be better and you tell them to do more and you're hard on them, but more of a mature thing. Like, if I could tell you and say to you, hey, Nachman, like, you got to be stepping into more because you're such a powerhouse and you're playing small, that would be from a place of love, not judgment and putting you down. But, hey, I'm your friend and I see this and I want to be able to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So that type of interaction, even though it's hard to hear, is actually going to make you into a better person, which is what I believe in the end of the day is the biggest value of a friendship, is a person that's going to be in your life. And that's why I think the people that will stick around are people that are going to make you a better version of yourself. And that's why we keep them around. If I think about who my friends are today, of those from the 36 to the 41, or even, all the way back to even very few of my childhood, is the people that stuck around are the ones that are making me a better version of myself. That's what I believe. What do you think about that?
So, yeah, I'm going to get a little bit vulnerable. In the same Pirkei Avos that says, acquire a friend, it also gives an example of the relationship between David and Yonasan, that their relationship was not dependent. It says it wasn't dependent on anything, and any relationship that is dependent on something will not last, as opposed to a relationship that's not dependent on anything could last forever. And then they give the example of David and Yonasan. So I think acquiring a friend, first of all, it means there's going to be friction. And I think in our relationship, when we first started out, not to get into too many details,
You could if you want, by the
I
way.
know, but there was friction. There was a point where we almost, I don't like to use the word hate because it's a strong word,
It's okay. You could use it.
but we had this
Hate.
animosity and there was a lot of triggers, and I think for a lot of people, when they would feel that type of triggers, they would sort of divorce that relationship. But I think we were we were forced to work it out because we're brother-in-laws, and we were also in the same business,
Got very sticky.
right? But if we weren't brother-in-laws or we weren't in the same business, chances are we would not be friends today. And maybe when we see each other on the street, we'd say hello because, we want to be nice to each other. But in the back of our brains, we would be thinking, "Oh, that guy, what an idiot! I remember those times. He was such a pain in the neck, and blah blah blah." But what I've come to realize is that those things that I was triggered about were those things that made me stronger. And once I took responsibility for those things that would trigger me, and I came to appreciate you more, I came to admire you more, I came to realize that really there was nothing that you were trying to hurt me. There was no animosity, there was no resentment or real anger that you had towards me. It was just you being you, and when you were being you, something in me triggered. So when I worked through those triggers, and I did, I did a lot of work, a lot of checking in, around those
Spent a
triggers.
lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort.
But when I started working through those triggers, I started to come to appreciate you. And I'm just thinking one example. We do workshops together. And I'm a guy growing up that things had to always be organized and controlled. So on a workshop, on Shabbos is a day that's jam-packed, and that's when we do a lot of facilitation. And I would want to start early because I knew that if we started early, then we'd end early, and if we'd end early, then we could chill, and then the staff could get together and meet up. And you never even had that in mind because you would sometimes start davening late, and then you would have these long meetings with the staff, and it would infuriate me. And I would get so angry, like, what is he doing? And he's not keeping to the schedule. And then I would hold that resentment. And then when I started doing work around that, and the work around it is me letting go to what is in life, not just in that situation, but me letting go in general, my life became so much easier. But like people don't have to be a certain way for me to like them, or things don't have to always be perfectly on time, or I don't have to always show up on time for a simcha or something. My life got easier. So when I did work on that, that's me acquiring you as a friend, because now when I go into relationship and we go on a workshop and I want to start at 11 o'clock in the morning, but we start at 1:30 because you want to go to the mikveh or you want to have another meeting, I'm totally flowing with it. And not only that, but another benefit of me working with it is realizing the godliness in it, is realizing, one second, I'm not in control. Hashem is in control. So to me, it was a massive gift that I was faced with that numerous times on workshops, that I had to work through that. I didn't have a choice to work through that because that's who you are. You're not a guy that you like being in flow. And it's almost like you can't start unless there's a certain feeling or there's a certain drive and flow that's happening. So you're not going to start on time. And that's the way this work happens on a workshop. So I came to appreciate you more. I came to love you more and admire you more because of that, because of the work that I did. So to me, I think we say acquiring, I think that's what it means to acquire a friend.
So an acquisition is you owning your parts and how you're showing up to the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of by force, because our wives are so close and because we're brother-in-laws and because we're in business together, we literally tripled down.
Yeah.
Like, you introduced me to my wife. Now we're in the same community, our kids go to the same school, we have a lot to do with each other, and then we're in business. It's tripling down on this relationship, even though, like, the start of it was a little bit shaky.
A lot shaky.
Yeah. But the more you work on that, the more the relationship, if it matters to you, it doesn't have to be with every relationship, because you don't have to work through every relationship. You don't just say, oh, this guy told me this, and now I got to work on this, and I got to become closer with him. I think when it comes down to friendships in general, which is why I'm seeing from 36 to 41, is, okay, let's say there are 5 guys in that book. Just 5 guys. How many friends do you actually need? How many good friends do you need where you go all in with and you share the absolute most vulnerable truth? I'm not talking about who you spend the most time with and the things that you do together and et cetera, because my friendships, and I think based on what you're saying, and even though that guy Beryl you might say he's your best friend, like this other guy that you said he's your best friend, which he's not your best friend, which you think he's your best friend, because, I'm living from a paradigm that he was my best friend back in this time of my life, it just means you were connected at that point in time. Today, who are you actually really connected to, and who do you share your life with, and who do you get vulnerable with? 5 friends is really all you need, because you don't need a massive amount of people that are going to hold you accountable and make you work on yourself. I think it's actually spreading yourself too thin in a certain sense. And I realized those 5 people, and I looked at the book, those 5 people in that book are literally my friends today and have brought me into a better version of myself. And it's about acquiring those parts that I needed to acquire, or being around them motivated me to be a better person.
Right, I like
Like,
that. That's also a good example.
This one guy, he did this challenge, this 10,000 pull-up challenge in the month of October last year. And he's actually a friend of mine. And when I look at him, when I just watch how he exists, and we live vibrationally, we live different lives. He is not a religious Jew. I am. I'm married. He's not. We're so in different places in our life. But consistently, we've been friends for about 10 years. And it hasn't stopped. And he also considers me a friend, which is amazing, because we're literally like vibrationally different people. Although at the core, we're connected. We've been to vulnerable places. But he motivates me to be a better health version of myself. That's one of the biggest things. He motivates me to believe in myself more. He motivates me to see what I could do, what my potential is in this world. He's a younger guy and whatever, but he's still around. And he makes me into a better version. Sometimes that better version of yourself is going to come, like we're saying, especially when we're deeply entangled, where you're going to get triggered by the person.
Right.
And you're going to have to work through things. Now, when you work through those things and the conditions of what you had in relationship around how you showed up in relationship are worked through, the relationship goes to that place that you were discussing, which is more unconditional. Like, you don't have to change. We don't have to do it your way or my way. We could do it sometimes my way, sometimes your way. We could learn to blend this situation. We could, you could show up as you and I could show up as me, and we could still be friends. Where we're going to be challenged even more, and where it's going to be harder, is like, okay, how deep does the relationship go? Is, let's say you move countries. Mm-hmm. Let's say, and maybe that's a very real thought for you right now, that you're going to move countries. And fantastic, because if that's what you and your family need. But okay, now there's the thing that you had that bound you, and now you don't have those things. So how deep does the relationship go if you're not in the same proximity? And that's, to me, what a true friend is. A true friend is going to depend very little on circumstance. And just how deeply you feel connected to that person. And sometimes I think, when I'm going through things in my life, and remember we do that exercise where you're on the dock and you stand into each other's shoes. Sometimes I literally, when I'm going through a tough time, I think about certain friends in my life, what would they do? Even if I don't even reach out to them and call them.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
what would they do? So I have these examples in my life of people who are showing me who I am, because what would they do is, what advice do I need to hear? What do I need to step into?
So how they live their life.
Their voice in my head, their example, their behaviors. It's someone I feel bonded to. And, you know, that friend, the 10,000 pull-up friend, so he wants to meet once a month and just get on the phone, get on Zoom. If we can do it in person, he lives in a different country. But just, he said, because there's so much value in me seeing more of myself, my blind spots. What a friend can teach you, and what friends do in general, is they show you your blind spots. You know, they say this thing, you can't see the picture from within the frame.
Yeah.
So you're like looking at the picture of your life, and you even look in the mirror and you're seeing this, and then it takes a good friend to say, hey, I think you're missing that. There's something more to the story that you're not seeing.
Right.
And I want to tell you about this. And sometimes all it takes is just two people getting together and talking about it, and then you end up coming to it on your own just because your friend's there, and you're like, his presence allows you to expand the picture, to go outside the frame.
Right. So it's about being comfortable in that vulnerability.
Yeah.
And it's also about, you were talking about having a friend. So let's say you have a friend that has different values than you. Like all different values than you, but you like being around them. There's he has a heart, there's a certain love that he has. Do you think that relationship could last? Or does the person have to have similar values?
You know, it's a very good question, because I don't think you have to have the same values when it comes to a friend. I think you have to have a deep mutual respect for the person's values that you're in relationship with, because, you know,
Meaning, let's say you have a friend that you were friends with for a good amount of time, maybe even your whole life, but then he's being promiscuous, he's taking drugs, he's, maybe even being dishonest. So where do you draw the line? Do you sort of, and I think you mentioned something like this, I sort of, friends that I had in my teenage years, they may not be my best friend today, but I'll always have a connection to that guy.
great, but they're not your best friends
But they're
today.
not my best friends today. Yes.
Exactly. Like, you can't say you're my best friend to a person they're not really your best
They're
friends.
not my best friends today, but at one point in my life, they were my best friend. And they were there in a vulnerable way to help me in a certain stage in life.
Gotcha.
And I'll always have that, like when I see those guys call my phone, there's a surge of love that I feel like, whoa, yeah, I want to take this guy's call.
Yeah. So I think what you said is, first of all, we all have stuff to work on. Like, I have stuff to work on, you have stuff to work on. When you say a guy's being promiscuous or this or that or whatever, you know, there's a certain level of respect and love that you can have for a person, even though you don't feel like a person's overweight. You feel like it's be taking care of their health, and you can tell them, and then they could still not make the change, but they can hear your opinion. You could tell a guy after he missed the chauffeur, don't go to Portugal for Sukkot, and he's flying literally on the day of Sukkot, and I'm like, you could come to my sukkah, and we could talk about this. We could fabring. We can talk about how you can make up for the lost chauffeur that wasn't blown.
Right.
We could have those conversations, and he could still choose the Portugal, and we could still be friends, because you could see the man in his struggle, and that's okay, and it's fine, and he'll make his own decision. The person doesn't have to be like you or listen to you. You have to have a mutual level of respect, because you also have work to do. I also have work to do on myself. It's not like I'm speaking from this place and also you have to listen to me. Like, who am I that he has to listen to? I just have to be able to have those conversations. When the change is made, that's all our own inner work that we got to do as people. just because you have accountability, just because you have a great friend, doesn't mean you're going to become the version of what your friend thinks you need to be. That's not the goal of it. It's, hey, this is my circle, this is my people, and we try to have similar values and similar things that we believe in. And in general, we're vibing to that, and we're connected, and we can talk about our struggles, because oftentimes it's really just about being able to talk about your struggles, not necessarily saying I have to overcome them. But I think it just comes with needing to know that there's that mutual respect, and we can have those uncomfortable conversations. And most people, you can't have those uncomfortable conversations. Most people, if you start talking to them, they become defensive. They take it as an attack. They're not open to it. It's like I was saying this story, and this is such a powerful story that I was saying yesterday. That's why I want people to hear this story. It was COVID, and I went to Shul for Yom Kippur. And there was a division in the minyan. There was outside minyan, and there was the inside minyan. The inside minyan, you have to wear a mask. And the outside minyan, again, we're in Canada, just for context, that's what Canada necessitated, and living here, that's what we needed to do. And we're okay with it, because I choose to live in Canada. There's people that are not okay with it, and they left Canada. Blame Canada. So I'm sitting outside, and this old guy wants to sit outside, but he's wearing a mask. And he was upset that I wasn't wearing a mask. And I was like going close to the door even, and whatever, like, who am I? And he says, don't you care about anybody else but yourself? Why aren't you wearing a mask? And you just...
Boom.
And this was Kol Nidre going into Yom Kippur, and I'm like, are you serious? This is nuts. Like, Hashem, what are you placing before me right now? Like, I couldn't not see that this was coming from Hashem, because, and we were talking about this last night when we were learning, is Yom Kippur is a day that becomes a day of alignment. You have to, it's about confronting. It's about, you're not, it's so hard to be mad at other people on Yom Kippur, because you honestly want to just come to God with a clean slate and feel good about yourself. You don't want to have broigus with anyone. That's just how it feels when you come. And that's why we all say sorry before Yom Kippur to the people that we feel that we wronged and blah, blah, blah. So it's like a realignment process. So it's like I couldn't not say to myself, like, God, why are you doing this? Because I didn't want to start getting angry at him and start feeling that, but it hurt.
Of course.
And instead of blaming him and getting angry at him and saying he's a this and he's a that, I actually felt just hurt, and I let myself feel that hurt. And that became somewhat of the fuel of the Yom Kippur, and my Kol Nidre started off, and I was just bawling, crying. And, someone has an opinion about me, and I feel judged, and da-da-da, whatever. Anyways, it was a very good Yom Kippur. I used that as such powerful fuel, and I felt good, and I was looking at him as I was thanking him in a certain sense, but I couldn't help but hold on to the fact that, like, he said this thing to me. So 6 months later, I approached the guy in Shul one Shabbos, and I said to the guy, I just want to let you know something. When you said that to me on Yom Kippur, I felt very hurt. It was hard to take. I felt like it was very judgmental, and, you don't understand me, and you just throw out these bombs irresponsibly, like, it was a little bit insensitive. So he says to me like this, and he's an older guy and whatever, and whether he's right on, not taking ownership and saying sorry to me, whatever, I just had to put that out there. But he said this line, and this is what it comes down to, and this is what a true friend represents. When somebody that you're in relationship and loves you, and they say something that feels like it's not giving you love, it's your job to find the love behind the message.
Love that. And
I think that's what a real friend is, that you can always see the love behind the message, because the friend truly cares about you, and you know that. And even when it's hard to hear certain things that they share, it's for your best interest, so you grow from it. That's what 100%. A real friend is. And I think that's the ultimate relationship, which now we just finished Rosh Hashanah, and we're heading into Yom Kippur. It's like, what's the ultimate relationship? It says we're in this Siras Yemei Tshuva, 10 days of reflection. That's what it really is. Chuas, coming back to yourself, realignment, that by Yom Kippur, you're standing and you really face yourself in front of God. You face yourself in front of God. You don't run away anymore. It says the whole year you've turned your back to God, let's say, and found passion in other things, and then this is the day of truth where you have to face yourself. That's why generally people feel better after Yom Kippur. Not before Yom Kippur, because a lot of anxiety, but after Yom Kippur. And as you're coming to face yourself, you're more open to the messages that people are going to share with you in those days. But throughout the whole year, we're judgmental, we're distant, and that represents all relationships, is like how we show up to is we're distant to the message, which what's the message beneath the message? The message beneath the message is that this is God sending you a message of I love you. Because the world was created from unconditional love. Now, this is a very deep concept, but just hear it. Every message that is being shared to you, even though it's sometimes hard, is a message of love.
Yes.
Unconditional love of Hashem sending you something. Now, it's my job to filter through the blockage to come back to that love. Who's going to help me get there? A friend. Because a friend will tell you where you need to work on yourself, where you need to expand yourself, where you need to open your heart more, and how to get to a place of just loving and accepting everything just like Hashem. So that's what I believe is the value of a friend.
Right.
A chaver means chibur, we're joined. Like, I'm not just seeing perspective from my lens, it's now our lens.
Right. That your friend wants the best for you. And if you think about life, just to add to what you're saying, let's say even marriage. Everybody thinks, and I think most people don't understand the number one reason for marriage. The number one reason for marriage is for you to come into alignment of yourself. And people think, what are you talking about? Let me go work on myself over there and then get married. Let me work on myself outside the marriage. My wife needs to give me something. But obviously your wife has there's certain needs that your wife needs to give you, and et cetera. But I'm talking on a deep level, that your wife is going to be the person that triggers you the most. And your friends, not necessarily they're going to trigger you, but the idea is that ultimately you need to get back into your full alignment.
Your friends actually should trigger you.
Your friends should trigger you.
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe not. The reason why your wife is going to trigger you the most because you live with her. And your wife,
I know the most.
everybody in the world, she wants the best for you. And your friends also. So really a friendship is someone that is going to help me get back into my deep alignment. And that means he's going to trigger me. That means he's going to encourage me. That means he's going to call me out. Sometimes
he's going to force you into your truth.
He's going to force me into the truth. Sometimes forcing into truth is not even saying anything. It's just a friend living a certain life. And it's almost like if I want to stay friends with this guy, I need to keep up with him. Because I think as we grow as human beings, and I see it with a lot of my friends, and a lot of reasons why I've drifted off from a lot of friends is because we went in different directions. And there's a certain sadness to that, but ultimately if I'm working on myself and a friend of mine is not, that relationship is going to grow stale.
So you don't have to say who. It's okay. I just want to know, if you would say I have these amount of best friends in my life right now, at the age that you are, at the stage that you are, how many best friends do you have? And when I say best friends, remember, it's people that are helping you be the best version of yourself. And just close your eyes for a second, if you don't mind. And I'll close my eyes. Maybe the cameraman his. And just think about who are the people in your life that are helping you be the best versions of yourself. How many people do you have those in your life?
So I think we have a few.
What do you mean we?
I think people have a few, I have a few.
Mm-hmm.
And some best friends are the guys that I could speak to once every 2 weeks.
How many do you
have? How many do I have?
I really want to know this. I don't know how many you think you have. And I think this is an exercise for everyone.
I think I have 3 to 5 best friends.
Is it 3 or is it 5? I really want you to go into this. I'm serious.
I would say there's 3 best friends that I have and 1 really best friend that I have.
And are all those people in your life bringing you into the best version of yourself? Not who do you hang out with the
Yeah.
most, not who do you have the best time
So I
with,
think when I'm thinking of these 3 guys,
the inner
I'm
circle.
thinking of people that when I'm down I could speak to and they could give me encouragement. And when I remember a few years ago I broke up a relationship. I don't want to go into details, but I remember speaking to a friend of mine and he challenged me. And he till this day he still challenges me about that relationship.
He's one of your best friends?
And he's one of my best friends.
Interesting.
And I like that because I could just come to him and say, hey, this guy was a bad guy and we're not in a relationship anymore and I want him to validate all that stuff. But he challenged me. And he always was, and that best friend also, when things weren't looking bright in certain areas of my life, he came through for me. Or, the guy that I'm speaking to, he lives in Israel. Or when my kids went to Israel, he was like a father to them. Like he made my kids feel as if he's one of they're one of his kids. So there's so many dynamics that this guy has that is a true friend. That even when it gets tough, he'll stand up for me and he'll be there for me. He believes in me and he challenges me.
Yeah. So I think it's a good exercise for everyone, is especially in a year where you want growth, which is Tehesh Nas Puruvu, which is about actually seeing the fruits of your labor, all the stuff that you've worked hard for in your life coming into fruition, whether it means having kids or manifesting a beautiful life that you want, seeing the fruits of who you are, is who do you have in your life right now? And you meditate on this of if I had the ability to have those 5 people in my life, who would I want them to be? Let's just say, what would I want them to be about? And maybe start looking a little bit deeper and closer into who do you hang around and who do you want to become this year? And that sort of becomes your blueprint for a successful year. And it doesn't mean you can't be friendly with people. It doesn't mean you can't hang around people. It doesn't mean you can't be good with people. I'm talking about who are going to be your best people that you open up with, that you get vulnerable with, and that hold you accountable to the best version of yourself.
And I think just to conclude, and that's why you need a best friend. We said in the beginning of the show, why do I need a best friend? That's why. Because he's going to keep pushing you to raise your standard in life. He's going to encourage you. He's going to cheer for you. And he's going to challenge you. L'chaim.